Safeway store, and that was only 2 blocks from that house. And she said she'll give him the reward money, and he brings the harp. He said, okay, but if I see a cop within 10 blocks, you'll never see me or the harp again. So anyway, they recovered the harp. That harp was in that house, and they got the harp back. And she was still curious about who could have stolen her harp. And so I told her, go to the theater and get the names of everybody that had a key to that theater within the past 2 years, because it was not broken into. Somebody had a key and went and got it.
Uh-huh.
So she went and she faxed me about 15 or 16 names. And so I'm just going down that list saying, did this person take the harp? Did this person? Pretty soon it said yes. My pendulum told me yes. So I called her up. I told her, well, I think this guy might have taken the harp. So she took his name over to the theater manager and said, I think this guy might have taken the harp. And he said, oh, yeah, he used to be a maintenance man here. So he looked in the card file and said, where did you say the harp was found? And she told him the house, the address that we'd found the harp. He said, well, that was probably him because that's where he lives. So it works. It really does work. And that story was in...
You have to trust it. A lot of people don't trust your instincts on something like this.
That's right.
But tell how that led to the founding of your organization.
Okay, this woman that owned the harp, she's a PhD there in Berkeley, and she teaches psychology. She's a Harvard graduate. She teaches psychology to medical students at a medical college there. So I got to be pretty good friends with her when I found the harp and told her who stole it. And we became pretty good friends. And she was told me that she's living on liquid. She really has some bad digestive problem. And so I worked on that remotely, and the digestive problem went away, and she started eating solids again. So she was pretty impressed with that. And so she went back to the staff and faculty there at the school where she was working, and she was telling those doctors, well, you guys laughed at me when I told you Dowser was going to find my harp, and also he fixed my stomach. You guys have been working on that for a couple of years, And so they got really curious about who this guy is back here. And so they actually invited me to come out and speak to the staff and faculty of that college. And so I went out and I talked. There was about 30 people there, I guess, the staff and faculty, plus other people around, other professional people. And I was talking about, I told how I dowsed and found the harp and worked on her stomach and all that. And I just told several healing stories. I'd been involved in a lot of successful healing stories.
Yeah.
And I finished it. Well, I was also talking about the possibilities, just the mind phenomenon. I said if I could get enough people around a contaminated water source, we could change that. We could make that water drinkable by changing, just with the power of the mind, changing one contaminant, just changing the contaminant a little bit, one molecule, and that changes the whole thing and make that thing drinkable.
Yeah.
I was talking about, and we might clean up toxic waste dumps, because they drill down and they insert a lot of radiation type stuff, low-level radiation stuff way down in the earth. And, that bothers me, because if that ever got in our water supply, that'd really be bad. And I also was talking about, and we might even be able to close the hole in the ozone. Back in those days, everybody was talking about the hole in the ozone.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really was touched. I was touching some woman back there, and she was just, I finished my talk saying what I'd really like to do is to start an organization here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, so I can teach people how to do this, how to use the mind, how to really use this mind phenomena for the good of everybody,
Uh-huh.
And so I just finished, talking about that. I'd like to do that. Well, this woman walked up, and she said, I'm involved in several grant organizations and foundations, and I want to finance whatever you want to do in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And so
I remember you saying you were so shocked.
Yeah. I mean, people don't walk up every day and tell you, hey, I want to give you a bunch of money. And what I done...
That showed she must have really believed in what you were doing.
Oh, yeah, she did. Yeah, she really did. And she believed, well, she knew the woman that I'd worked on and fixed her stomach and found the harp. I mean, that's enough to kind of convince you pretty good, And, and what she did, she got my name and my address, and she sent, she said, in a few days you're going to get an application. Don't worry about all that other stuff. All I want to know is the name of the organization and the purpose of the organization. So I came up, since we live here in the Ozarks, by the Ozark Mountains, I figured, well, I'm just going to call it the Ozark Research Institute, and so that's how it got its name. And
I remember we were at a conference, I think it was at Hamilton Lake down in Hot Springs.
Yeah.
And that's when you first started saying this was going to become a reality.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's been way back. I know it's been over 20 years, hasn't it?
It's been,
How long has it been in
Actually, we've been in business about 14 years.
Okay, but I think it was way back then is whenever you were first... Yeah, when she first told you about it, we were down at that conference.
Yeah,
and it was kind of like, pie in the sky. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do that. I've been saying, hey, I want to start an organization, But,
it's like, oh, yeah, she's going to give you this money. A lot of people didn't believe it, But we both know that, the power of the mind, we can visualize, we can create anything we want.
Absolutely, you can.
You just have to believe in the power of the mind.
Yeah.
That's how I got all the things in my life, too.
Well, I remember when you published your first book.
Yeah, we were all in that together, so we know how we can create what you want.
Yeah, we did that, yeah.
I tell people, you have to know what you want. You have to know it in detail. You can't be vague about it.
Yeah, I've had people say,
if you're vague about it, well, then it's not going to happen. You got to know exactly what you want to be able to visualize it and see it. Then it must become a reality because it's a law of the universe.
That's the law, absolutely. And that
law you did the same thing because you were visualizing what you wanted.
Yes. And that law, the law of manifestation or the law of attraction, is just as powerful as the law of gravity.
Yes.
If you pick up a pebble, it's going to drop to the ground every time. And everything that you put in your mind, and most people, we manifest everything that we have. We manifest who we are and what we do just by the way our attitude is and the way we think. But most of us, you don't even realize that. You just walk around angry at somebody or hating somebody or, and like brings like. It's like whatever you put out, you get back.
See, a lot of us, our energy is scattered.
Yeah.
We're not focused on what we really want to create.
Yeah.
It's scattered.
It is. It's amazing and it's wonderful that you can actually create whatever it is you want. I have people ask me, can you work on me getting a better job? I said, yeah, but, what do you want to do? Well, I'm not sure.
As long as you're not sure, well, then the universe isn't sure either.
Right, see? Make up your mind.
You talked about the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And that's when I tell people what you fear, you can also draw to you.
Oh, absolutely. Whatever you worry about, whatever you're afraid of, that's what you bring. Absolutely. Every time. That's what you bring to yourself.
You bring that into your life rather than what's good or what help you.
Yeah. It's just.
But you have to be able to visualize it in detail.
Yeah.
What it is. You can't be vague about it.
That's true. And
that's why I tell people if they're talking about jobs, to see themselves doing whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah, that's what you have to make up your mind what you want to do and just set that as a goal and go for it.
And, you said also that, I see the other phone is ringing. I'm not going to answer it, so it may do some strange things here. I'm not going to listen to have the answering machine is loud, too. Okay. It would happen when we're going live here.
Yeah, well, I myself.
I forgot to turn that one off. And take my concentration away there for a minute. Let me get it back on what we were talking about.
Well, I didn't even
Trouble with live shows, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't hear you talking.
I was doing one a few weeks ago, and a deer came around, was looking in my window. That was a distraction.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what I try to tell people. If you visualize what it is you want and what it is you want to do, then you have to release it and believe it's going to happen.
That's true.
You can't question it, because then I always say you put it out to the universe and let them take care of it.
Yeah, and that's the way healing happens.
Yes. That's tell about the first. Remember one of the very first cases. See, when we first met, we were going over to a group that met every week over in Rogers, which is very close to Fayetteville.
Yeah.
And that's where we first met, and where you were discovering what you could do, and I was discovering what I could do.
Yeah.
And you were questioning everything because you didn't know where it was coming from.
Yeah.
The first case I remember you talking about wasn't it a boy, a little child with a cleft palate?
Yeah, that's true.
It was in England, wasn't it?
In England, yeah. My son was over there, and he met this young lady that had a 18-month-old child that had a cleft palate. And they have socialized medicine over there, and they knew from the moment it was born that he had a cleft palate, and they're going to have to work on it sometime.
Yeah.
And my son, he called me, and he was talking about that little kid. He'd sent me a picture of him, and this is just sort of when I first was starting to do this stuff.
Yeah, you were just discovering it, didn't even really know what you were doing.
Yeah, that's true.
How it worked or anything.
Sometimes I still think I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, that's the same with me.
But he was telling me that, he said, we just took him to the doctor this past Thursday. This is on a Saturday. He said, we just took him to the doctor, and they examined him and said it's time to go in there and close up that hole in the roof of his mouth.
Yeah.
And he said, I really feel sorry for the kid because the way they do it here, they will deaden that. They put something up there to deaden it so they can get in there and sew it. However they close it. He said, and it's such a delicate operation, they don't want him to stick his tongue up before the deadening wears off and push the stitches out. So they sew his tongue over to his cheek.
Ooh.
And they tie his hands to the bed.
I wonder if they still do that now. That was 20 years ago, but it sounds awful.
Yeah, it still sounds awful. It's terrible. But anyway, that just really struck my heart because I love kids, and kids are easy to fix. Kids are really easy to work on.
Because they're very trusting.
I just sort of got in a meditative state, and I went in my mind, I was sitting on his lower front teeth, and he's in Banbury, England, and I'm here in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm sitting on his lower front teeth looking up at the hole. And I'm just saying affirmations like, this child's system will produce a proper cells to fill up that hole. And in my mind's eye, that was just getting smaller and smaller. And I'd done that. Now, this was a Saturday afternoon when my son told me that. And I'd done that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, on Thursday, they were going to